All right, welcome back to Mystery Wire, everybody, with George Knapp. I'm Ron Futrell, and we got Carlos Sampson and John Forrest here putting the show together for us. We've got a special guest here from Canada. I wanted to talk hockey with him, George, to start out. Should we talk some
It's your show.
Montreal Canadiens with him? But, oh, by the way, the movie S4, the Bob Lazar Story, and we're proud to have Luigi Vendittelli with us here talking about producer, director who put this together and has had tremendous success. You know Bob Lazar. Both of you know Bob Lazar very well. I've never met Bob Lazar, okay? He seems to be the type of guy that isn't really out there seeking fame, but it has found him, hasn't it, George?
Yeah, people know him well, know how little he has regards for fame. He's an anti-fame guy. When we first put that series together, the interview we recorded was basically done to save his life because he was felt his life was in danger. I just wanted to capture it, have it on camera in case something went wrong. But he didn't want attention. And then the day we revealed his identity, we had a little tussle over the videotape. As I was trying to take it to the control room where it was supposed to air in a couple of minutes, he said, "No, I changed my mind. Give me that tape." He's a reluctant messiah when it comes to ufology. And it's easy to understand why. Every time he has come forward that we've dragged him kicking and screaming on some anniversary or something, he's gets creamed by debunkers and people who hate this story. So,
Luigi, you found that with Bob?
Oh, there's no question. I was even surprised that he entertained to talk with me and meet with me when I proposed the first project, which was just to make a die-cast model, because that's how it all started. But I am 100% in agreement with George here. I got to meet Bob Lazar, spent a long time with him. I've become friends with Bob Lazar over the course of 4.5 years. And if there's one thing Bob doesn't like is attention. And I know this for a fact. Although, he's done interviews and you'll see him out there talking with people. We went on Rogan and he's been on Area 52 and American Alchemy. And people are like, oh, he's loving the attention. No, he's not. He really isn't. So he agreed to do this because he had a tremendous amount of respect for my team and myself and wanted to help us get our film out there. That's why he did it. But he said to me, he says, once this is done, I'm out. I just want to be doing my own thing in my lab. I'm not interested in more interviews. I mean, the amount of interviews we turn down is unbelievable. So when people see like 4 interviews with Bob Lazar and they think that's a lot, they don't know the amount of interviews that were not allowed. So he isn't looking for attention, trust me.
Well, in fact, George, you did talk to him recently, and here's your question to Bob about that topic.
I don't know what it's like on your end. I know what it's like on my end since it's been out for a couple of days, but people think you just love the attention, not realizing what it's like for you personally when your name comes up again in public, the kinds of things that people bring up and then the pummeling that you take. I don't know if you're able to block that out and shield yourself from it.
No, I don't listen to it. And holy cow, I mean, I'm sure, I despise the attention. I mean, now that this is all out, I'm just kind of hoping to lay low and stay home. And hopefully people will forget this and it'll just, go back to where it came from. But yeah, attention, if you make a claim like that, you clearly have nothing about me.
So you don't see a sequel to this, Luigi. You don't see Return to S4, Back to the Future S4.
I'll tell you something. We had a discussion because the film came out and he's done all these interviews. And in about 6 months from now, or a little less than that, we're going to be releasing the VR experience, which is going to be called Back to S4. The Bob Lazar, but Back to S4, the Bob Lazar experience. And I said to Bob, I said, when the VR comes out, I'd love, for you to do something. And he's like, I'm not sure I want to do that. He goes, I'll probably make a quick video for you guys, but please don't book me on any interviews. So he's really, really, I think, and I can't say how I appreciate what he's done for us. And I think he's very happy now staying low.
He's got good reasons for wanting to keep lay low, because every time he pops his head out of the foxhole, it gets shot at
Absolutely.
and pummeled. And you can look at what's going on Twitter, X right now, the kinds of really nasty messages that are being leveled pretty much by the same kinds of people who've been dusting this stuff off and hoping they got a chance to use it again. And you can understand why that is not a pleasant experience, the impact it's had on his life. And he tries to block it out. You can't always block that stuff out. Imagine this, that you're getting a security clearance and you have a background check by the feds, by different agencies. That's an intrusive process, and it would bother anybody. Now imagine a background check that lasts for 37 years, and you have armies of people who have tracked down every ex-girlfriend, every coworker, every employer, anybody you ever borrowed money from, all your bank records, every place you live. They talk to your neighbors. Anybody who's got any kind of a bad impression of you, that all comes forward. That is what Bob Lazar is going through now. It's what he's always going through, and I don't blame him for wanting to leave it behind. He's tried a bunch of times. I've dragged him out into the public for a few anniversaries over the years. I promise not to do that again. You know, I'm sure you feel the same way.
I feel exactly the same way. And in fact, I think that if all these people who are always investigating Bob Lazar had the same team, the same people they get along with investigating them, they wouldn't enjoy it either.
Yeah.
You do have a website coming out, though, with more material. I do want to take, before we go much further in this show, where people can find more information,
Absolutely.
Luigi,
So
on this.
The film is available on Amazon Prime Video right now, and it's actually in fourth most sold film right now on Amazon. But we also are we've launched the We Are Not Alone channel, which is called the WANA channel. That's going to actually go live in about a week, but it's available to go and see what it is on wearenotalone.com. But in about a week, people could actually download the app. It'll play on any television, smart device, whether it's a tablet, a phone, or whatever. And like the same way you download Paramount or Disney or whatever. And at that point, there's going to be a tremendous amount of extended interviews, behind the scenes, extended scenes from our film. So that's something that we would, really encourage people to go check out. You could subscribe, or you could just go see the videos if you want to buy them, because there's a lot of material that we're going to be putting up there.
I remember the first time I met you, Luigi. You came to Las Vegas to produce some segments, and you brought along a DeLorean.
That's right.
You guys were shooting out on a dry lake bed outside of Las Vegas that has its own little history with site of Desert Blast events that we've reported on over the years. And then the DeLorean was going to be a time machine in the movie, but you still have plans for using that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I actually was going around with that time machine yesterday here in Las Vegas, and we came out with the idea was we were going to use that time machine to bring people back to 1988. I said I want to use an iconic 80s vehicle to bring people back to S4 in 1988. That actually never made it in the film, but it will be the centerpiece of our VR experience. So when we go back to S4, we're going to be bringing everybody back in a DeLorean time machine.
So the VR experience, you put on some goggles,
Yeah.
and you can walk around and look at things inside S4.
The VR experience is literally going to be like stepping into a new universe. As soon as you put them on, whether you have goggles or you want to do it from your computer screen and move around with your mouse or even on your phone, obviously the most incredible one is with the VR goggles, and that will actually bring you into S4, and it feels like you're actually there. You'll be able to walk around, get into all the rooms, get into the lab, play around. You could pick things up, move them around, turn lights on and off, open doors, close, go into the hangar, walk and crawl into the sport model. And if you know how to do it, you'll be able to activate the sport model and fly it.
Okay. Looking forward to checking that out. Okay, we got to take a quick break. When we return with Luigi, we're going to talk about just the word of the year, disclosure, when it comes to UFOs. Also, we've got some questions from viewers that they've got for you, Luigi, if you are willing to take those when we return here to Mystery Wire. All right, George, our special guest here. We're glad to have him with you. And thank you, Luigi, for taking the time to spend with us here. Luigi Vendittelli, who is the producer-director of S4, the Bob Lazar Story. Disclosure seems to be the word of the year. There's been a lot of it, certainly from a lot of people out there. Jim Lukatsky, we've had plenty of that. Bob Lazar was disclosure when you first interviewed him back in the day. Government disclosure, not so much. Here's what, in your recent interview, George, with Bob Lazar, what he said about disclosure.
Nobody's releasing anything. I mean, anything they release, they might just release, something to shut you up, perhaps a little tidbit. But first of all, I highly doubt that the presidents even have the information. So, no, you're not. There's no such thing as disclosure. That'll never ever happen. Never.
Well, there you go. Is that consensus here, George?
Absolutely agree.
Absolutely, I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I think we'll get some crumbs. There's a list of videos that we know where they are, and now Congress knows where they are. They've been demanding them. The president said, yeah, give some stuff over. We might get some of those videos, but there are really sensitive ones that we're not going to see. And they will fight tooth and nail to keep this stuff from coming out. There's not going to be an announcement by the president of any detail, I don't imagine. People who have talked to him have told him bits and pieces, but he's never had the briefing. Yeah, we've got this stuff. Here's where the bodies are. I don't think he's gone beyond hearing witness statements and pilots and things. And based on his comments, he doesn't seem all that interested in the issue. Luigi, what do you think?
I'm in agreement with you, George. I don't think that this is going to go as far as people would like it to go. I think there's a lot of popular conversations going around right now, and it's been going on for the last couple of years. All these congressional hearings, one which you were one of the witnesses, George. And it's great to see the conversation happening in such a mainstream way where a lot of people are now listening to these testimonies, and it's incredible that the information is getting out there. That's just one step, I think. And I think the what people expect, where the government just turns around and says, all right, you got us, here it is, this is what we got. That's kind of science fiction to me. I don't think that the government or whoever's in charge wants to disclose something like that. I think we're also omitting the fact that, adversarial countries would be very interested knowing that the Americans have this in their possession, or the government or whoever contractor. So it would put a lot of people's lives in danger, in my opinion, by putting this information out. Although a lot of people think that, well, the public deserves to know. Yeah, the public does deserve to know, but we don't even know what it is. So
yeah.
What
do you say? What's the announcement? We don't know where they're from, why they're here, how long they've been here, what their plan is. Thank you and good night. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you have, and before we go into questions in our final segment, I've got a question. Do you have other projects on the table? You talked about the We Are Not Alone,
yes,
the WANA deal, the acronym there, and the virtual reality goggles. Do you have other UFO-related movies on the drawing board, Luigi?
I certainly do. So once all this, ends up becoming history for us, where the movie comes out now, the movie's out now, the VR is going to come out. We have a beautiful illustrated book that will follow as well, and then the die-cast model. So
that's where it started, right? The die-cast
that's
model
how it all started.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the die-cast is, whenever you guys see the die-cast model, that is the last segment of Project Gravator, which is ironic because it was the first thing we were supposed to do. But after that, I think we're going to start it even within those time frames. But I have the intention of making another film, and I want to focus on the visual perspective. So it's going to be a visual documentary, same way we did the S4 documentary, but it'll cover the 15 minutes or let's say 10 minutes of whatever happened at the Ariel primary school in Zimbabwe in 1994, where many children, 62 children, witnessed a craft land and beings come out and communicate with them. I think that's one of the most credible witness accounts in history. I know some of those kids who are now adults, and they're on board to do this, and they've seen what we were able to do with S4 and are very interested in working with us to recreate what they saw that day.
Yeah, it's a landmark case.
Wow.
I know some of those kids who grew up to adults and have been to a couple of conferences and got to meet them there, and they're incredibly honest and brave for coming forward to share this story.
No, I think people are looking forward to seeing what you have next. The success of S4, the Bob Lazar Story, certainly, we talked about that in our previous episode about it shooting right up to #1, certainly has to have you excited about what and I think people interested in this topic have to be excited to hear that news that you've got more on the drawing table.
Well, I hope I hope this success continues for all of us,
especially in light of how many people worked to stop it from happening at all. You had some amazing problems thrown and walls put up to stop it in its tracks.
Oh, undeniably. I mean, I've never experienced so many different challenges in my life, in my career, actually. So we had a lot of problems that we had to overcome, a lot of traps that were set for us, and that we had to basically tippy-toe around minefields to figure out a way to bring this to the audience. The number one thing we wanted to do was to deliver to everybody, the audience, what we wanted to put out there, the integral film that we put together. And we didn't want anybody to change it, no other narrative to be brought in there. And that was a big challenge. So we're really, really happy that was able to happen and the world gets to see what we really wanted to put out there. And I just hope that the next one doesn't give us as many obstacles as this one did.
I mean, it starts as a die-cast model that you pitched to Bob. It becomes a virtual reality experience. Then it becomes a movie.
That's right.
You financed it.
Yeah,
it's out of your own, and you had no idea really how you were going to. It cost a lot of money.
Seven
and
figures.
You had no idea how you're going to get it back.
You know, when we started, we didn't know how much it was going to really cost, and obviously, time is money. We all know that, right? So as time progressed and it got longer to make this, it became more expensive. This was privately funded. We did have some help from our bank at one certain point, which eventually became our enemy, who was working alongside of us for about 1.5 years to get us government credits in Canada because we were working on this VR experience, which we were accredited and eligible for government credits, which we got. But the bank actually really acted in a very predatory way against us suddenly and attacked us for doing this UFO project, as they called it. And not only did they do that, but also brought us to court and demanded that we provide them all communications we had with Bob Lazar.
Oh, come on now.
And
wait.
Just like all banks do that, right?
Yeah, and we have. I mean, we have that. It's a court document, and my lawyer was very surprised. He didn't believe in any of these conspiracies, but he thought when he saw that, he said, "That's very interesting because you have a lot of other customers, a lot of clients. I have licenses that I own." And they never requested anything else except for the Bob Lazar communications, which was really, really strange.
You think they had some prodding from maybe another government or something?
It's hard to tell. You know, it sounds conspiratorial to just say it. So I don't like saying it because it sounds like I'm trying to tie that in together. But it never happened to us before. It is very strange that that's all they wanted. So why would they request our communications with Bob? Which, by the way, I did answer. And I gave them everything we had. I guess to their unfortunate surprise, they didn't realize the only things that Bob and I kept talking about was the color of the walls and the type of tiles on the floor and the
Pantone palettes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I don't see where they could go with that. You know, it's not
someone needs to classify that stuff.
Right.
Okay, we got to take a quick break. A couple of quick questions for you when we return to Mystery Wire. Okay, we have time at the end here for one question from Sandy on Facebook, and she's got a question. She says, many people who have seen much less have not lived to tell their tales. How was he, meaning Bob Lazar, or you for that matter, being able to live through this unscathed? We'll start with you, Luigi.
Well, I don't think that I matter, to be honest, but as far as Bob Lazar, we thought about that a lot, and I gave it a lot of thought over these years, and I think the reality is that if anything would have happened to Bob Lazar, it would have just added credibility to it more than anything. It's just better to leave it alone. I think if they got caught, and I think they got caught with their pants down, and they didn't expect Bob Lazar to go public so quickly, and it became George's story became international instantly. It became a worldwide sensation. I don't think they thought that would happen, and that was just too big. So better leave it alone, not address it, because if they did, it would just possibly it would probably be a crack in there, and George would have probably caught on to it, and would have been a bigger story.
Yeah, I think once he went on the air, and then once we were able to record longer interviews with him, he was protected. There were death threats. There were break-ins in his house. There were break-ins in his car. There were all kinds of skullduggery that was going on back then. They were following him around. They were following us around. His phones were tapped. Ours here in this newsroom were tapped.
Yep.
There's a lot of intimidation tactics, but once the story was out and they knew we were working on it and had recorded other things with him and were onto it, I don't think they could have killed him at that point because it was raised so much attention.
No, and that was initially why he came to you and did the interview. Was certainly fear for his life, and he was valid. The gunshots on Charleston into his car. Let's go there. It's depicted. Okay, thank you very much, Luigi, for joining us here, talking about S4, the Bob Lazar story, George's role in that. You can go to our website at 8newsnow.com, go to the Mystery Wire section. You'll see the full interview with Bob Lazar there and much more with Luigi as well, but we appreciate it. Thank you for your time and coming all the way from Canada. We didn't have time to talk hockey.
About the Canadians.
Next time we're talking hockey. Okay. Go Canadians. Go Habs.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
Appreciate your time here. And thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.